to Podtoid. We are your hosts. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 434. Thank you for joining us. We have a good show in store for you today. Chris is back from his trip to Siege Land, but unfortunately Dan is not here to hear about it. He's out for this episode, helping his mom like a good guy. But the show will go on, and on today's episode, we're talking about Siege, talking some DC Comics, some Animal Crossing, and a little bit more. And then after that, we have a whole new installment of Crap Criminals to look forward to. But first, Chris, welcome back.
Yeah, hi. It's nice to be back. I'm so tired. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted. It's just been nonstop. But I'll tell you what, I missed being on the show. But being away has given me the opportunity to think about to kind of like refresh the act of the show a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And like think about it. So like I got something to talk to you guys about. Right? Have you guys ever heard of clown porn? It's this. I think it's this like hot new thing that I don't think anyone's been talking about. So I've got all these fucking notes here about it. I've been working on them all. I can't fucking wait to dive into this. And if you think that's good, I've got some real hot takes about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom coming up as well.
Chris, I have the most unfortunate news for you, my friend.
Okay.
We talked about clown porn last week.
yeah, I know. This was my big joke. I don't need those. I can go over there. Yeah, I fooled you.
Oh, poor Chris. I imagine you just worked so tirelessly on the talking points about Jurassic World Fallen something, whatever. I can't even remember the name of it.
There's the quote for the box art. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I can't even remember the name of it.
To be fair, he probably worked harder on that than the writers did on that script.
That's true.
Am I right? High fives.
Zing.
All around.
Well, it is. I am glad to have you back, and you could just forward all of those clown porn notes directly to Occams because I'm sure he'd enjoy them. At least more than anyone else.
There's a real lack of diversity in clown porn, by the way. It's almost exclusively white people. They do invent the worst shit.
Yeah, exactly.
CJ.
Yeah, what's up?
Piero. That was the clown name you couldn't think of last week.
Oh, that wasn't me. I couldn't think of it. That was Occam's. Piero.
Okay. Piero.
That's the French clown, right?
Like it's got like the tear drawn on its face, and yeah.
Well, there you go, Occams.
Can you just say that word again?
Piero.
I'm a little horny. I like that's really like I just want you to whisper that in my ear, and I'm popping wood.
Well, I just came back from Quebec, so like I'm full of them at the moment.
Like that's just like that's the vocal equivalent of you suddenly having a 5 o'clock shadow and wearing a leather jacket. I'm into it.
This is actually a great segue into our first story of the show because we're going to start off this episode of Podtoid talking about sex, baby, talking about you and me, and specifically talking about all the good things you can do that's not sex.
Come on, CJ. How many guys make love?
So I found the story. Thought was at least a lot more fun than the one we attempted last week. As you know, there's a big consort of people trying to keep teenagers from having sex. And one of the things they do is give lists of alternative activities to sex that teenagers can engage in that is, quote, just as fun, if not more fun. And so this story popped up on the internet this week that was a pamphlet given out to students at Shervington High School, which I think is in Manchester. And it was given to students as young as 14 years old with plenty of fun activities they can do with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Real harmless stuff like flirt, send them a flower, listen to the love songs together, and the completely age-appropriate suggestion of proposing marriage. seems that some of the suggestions in the pamphlet did not sit well with parents. Outside of proposing marriage, there were suggestions of buying your boyfriend or girlfriend underwear, which is something you definitely want your 14-year-old doing, running them a bath.
All of these things lead to fucking. I don't understand.
And
that's just foreplay.
The absolute best one, sucking on their toes.
That's okay.
First of all, the only person who's going to look at a pamphlet of non-sexual activities and think, oh, that's, gee, Willikers, that's swell, is Pete Buttigieg. Second, feet are gross. Really, really gross. And I don't know if any teenager has the proper hygiene to have their toes be in a suckable condition.
I feel like that maybe adds to the allure.
No.
See now, CJ, we've looked into the abyss, and now it's staring back, and we have to deal with that.
You've ever seen the state of a teenage boy's toenails and how little care they take with washing their sneakers that they wear all the dang time? You would not be suggesting that. Or if you are, you're a monster.
As someone who looks exclusively at teenage boys' toes for a variety of reasons. Yeah, no, having been a teenage boy. Ugh, God, it's rough.
This was a suggestion in that leaflet, was it?
Yes.
That's really weird because that's like going down the path of like fetishism. Do you know what I mean? Which is intrinsic to kind of sex. So it's almost as if they've completely misunderstood what that is.
Well, I feel like this is like was it Brigham Young? I think one of those colleges where there was the instances of like anal sex is insanely like statistically high because anal isn't sex. It's you know, it's not vaginal sex, not the big sin. So anal is just all day long. I feel like this is sort of like that where it's just a real backwards ass way of going about things.
I believe Garfunkel and Oates wrote a song about it called God's Loophole. It's very funny and you should listen to it if you haven't.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I have heard that song. And it's a great video, and they're really fun.
Yes.
To be honest, of everything on that list, I'd just be quite happy with the bath. I do like a good. I do like a good bath. I shower every day, normally 3 times because I'm fucking mental. Mm-hmm. But occasionally I like a good bath. So I'll take. You can keep the flowers, and if you want to run me a bath, that'd be fucking great. And if I fall asleep in it, don't wake me up. I'm fine. I specifically like those ones that are just like a big metal tub, just full of like water from a kettle. Like those ones, yeah. Like they had in the cowboy days. They're the best.
Okay. You put that together for me. Yeah, I could definitely see that. With the oversized scrub brush.
Yeah, and also I'm wearing a big like manky Stetson hat while I'm scrubbing myself. Yeah,
and your legs and feet are out of it, but you're wearing cowboy boots still.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
I have that calendar.
And then someone jumps me. But I brought my fucking gun with me, and I shoot them from the bath like it's fucking High Plains Drifter or something.
And the water is decidedly milky for no discernible reason.
Piero.
It's just that's man. I'm just doing it. It really is. All right, so I'm clearly as a white male, I'm gonna speak for teenage girls and ignore the fact that we actually have someone who used to be a teenage girl on this podcast. But hey, so you're a teenage couple, boy and a girl, and there's the usual hormones and hanky panky stuff and all that. But I feel like if I were a teenage girl, that if I had a teenage boyfriend and he bought me underwear and drew a bath, like that is like the ticket to Pound Town a lot more than just like holding a hand it seems it's a really weird list to me. It's just like, hey, all this stuff will get you laid a lot more than the things you think will get you laid. It's very weird.
It is. Some of the suggestions on there do seem like precursors to getting it on, like share a deep, long, passionate kiss. Yeah, that's going to lead to sex.
Is that on the list?
Find a secluded spot. Yeah, that's one of them. Find a secluded spot you can enjoy. Yeah, that's going to lead to sex. Like literally everything on that list can probably lead to sex.
Climb into a bed together with zero clothes on.
There's two things you guys have missed though. Okay, one, this is teenagers. So my first question would be, how the heck did you get into my house to draw a bath? My mother has not given you a house key. How are you here?
Two words, ladder.
And two, there is no way a teenage boy is getting a teenage girl's size right when buying underwear. That is a catastrophe waiting to happen.
Bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Bringing truth to power.
In fact, I can't even believe he'd have the money to buy any. He'd probably just give us some of his mum's.
Oh, then it'd definitely not be the right size.
Wait, Chris. Continue this story, Christopher.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I've already I nearly didn't come back after fucking last week's fucking clown porn escapade. So you're lucky I've gone this far. Okay, so
it's just like, oh man, so many bad tattoos that do not cover up. It's great.
All right, let's go ahead and get talking about games. And Chris, let's go ahead and start with you and tell us about your trip to Canada and the Siege 6 International Invitational.
I lost my wallet and nearly got stranded. I had a panic attack in the middle of Charles de Gaulle Airport. Yeah. Other than that, it was all right. No, I went to Montreal to the Six Invitational tournament, which is essentially the end of season tournament that Rainbow Six Siege has. Ubisoft paid for my travel, which I need to point out, and it was pretty good. I went to Ubisoft, which funnily enough just looks like an office. Like, I don't know what you always get these ideas of what game studios looks like, and they just look like, places of work, of course. Do you know what I mean? But I went to the offices and I played some of the new content, which is cool. And I interviewed the Siege director, Leroy Athanasoff, who I've interviewed before. And he's such a warm and genuinely passionate dude. Like, he truly loves that game and truly believes in it. He doesn't talk in buzzwords. He talks like kind of existentially, which is like what I really appreciate about when you chat to him. And then for the rest of the weekend, I just was at the Place Belle Arena in Montreal, which I thought might have been the arena where Bret Hart got screwed by Vince. But apparently that's a different arena in Montreal, because Montreal's got like 4 massive arenas, because obviously it's such a big hockey city. But it was such a step up from the last one I went to, because the last one I went to was basically at the Cirque du Soleil building. So it was like a perfectly round but kind of compact arena. But this was straight up just like a hockey arena where they curtained off half of it and the other half was the tournament. And it was fucking full, man. Like, thousands of people were there. Like, I still don't quite get esports, maybe because I didn't grow up with it, but there's no fucking denying that it makes bank. Thousands of people turn up to those events. And even when the arena's full, if you just go out into kind of the outer circular part, there's loads of people like doing signings or cosplayers, people taking photographs or just having lunch. Ubisoft had a store there that was selling merch, and there was a queue from the moment it opened on the first day of hundreds of people, on like a one in, one out basis, because the store was full. And by midday on the first day, they'd sold like everything, and the store looked at it like it had been ransacked, and the shit in there didn't even have a price on it. You just like picked up what you wanted, went to the counter after queuing up, and then they told you at the counter how much everything cost. So not even including the tickets to the venue, not even because I think it was like $120 a weekend. Oof. I can't imagine how much money they make over that one weekend. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for like one weekend's event, which is why people like are trying to push into this esports thing. But in terms of like esports itself, it's not really for me, but I do enjoy seeing people excited. I do enjoy seeing people. I just like seeing people doing what they love and people being great at what they do and getting some good photos. I always like chatting to cosplayers, and I did to some of the people who were there. And also I met some other people from other publications and they were all cool as well. It was a lot of work. Like I didn't fucking go partying or anything like that. I didn't. It was like doing the thing and then going back to the hotel and writing. I could have been in fucking like Poole in England or somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like I could have been anywhere because the Insider Convention Centre looks the same in any country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was cool. You know, it was interesting. It was fun for the most part, but it was also a lot of hard work and a lot of traveling. And then I left on the last day for some reason. I was in a rush to get back to the site, so I left on the evening of the Sunday, which meant I woke up Sunday morning, Canada time, went through the day at the arena and the venue, and then flew out at night, which was like 2 flights and 2 trains across like different time zones. And then I had this problem in Paris where my wallet vanished, and it had my train tickets and my bank cards in, but fortunately not my passport. I lost my fucking shit because I was against the clock to get it sorted. I didn't get it sorted. And by the time I basically went to bed, when I got home, I'd been up for, I can't remember the exact number already, but I think it was something like 42 hours or something like that. Like, which when I was like 17 was something I did all the fucking time just because I was playing Vice City or whatever. But today, I'm fucking nearly 40. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't happening. But, you know, I do love Siege, so it was cool that I got to do this, and I'm really happy that I got to see how passionate the team still are about the game, and that they have ideas for its future. I wrote something yesterday about the way that Siege is changing. It's like shifting its tone, and it's very much dropping the politics and the wet works and the idea of like these people basically being state-sponsored killers, which is what, like, you know, Rainbow Six as a team are. And they're really pushing more in the idea of just focusing on them almost as if they're like comic book heroes, expanding their kind of relationships with each other and their characters and stuff like that, and making it more that the only animosity comes from within the group, as opposed to they travel to all these countries where it's probably none of their fucking business and shoot people in the face. So it does seem like, whereas like Activision with Call of Duty go in extra hard on this concept of like the horrors of war and the way civilians get caught up in terrorist atrocities and all that, it weirdly seems like Siege is almost backing away from that and concentrating more on the fantastical idea of like, what if this team had to fight biomonsters, or what if aliens came to, what if they went to Area 51 and that kind of stuff. So I guess that's the evolution of the franchise that has to happen as it heads into the next generation. But I think I genuinely, and this has nothing to do with you know, Ubisoft helping me getting to Canada or anything. I've been playing Siege for 3 straight years now. It's one of the only games I play like regularly, and it's cool to see that there's still some good stuff coming for it. I could have had an easier time traveling, but it's cool. I got out of the house, which happens so rarely these days.
You know, I'm very disappointed in myself for last week when I said you weren't here because you were in Canada, not making a Megxit joke, because it would have worked so well, and I don't know why I'm bringing it up right now.
Well, you know, it was like, well, did my wallet go missing in France? Or did they hear my accent and decide to take it out on me? Well, that's what I've got to say. Like, because I'll tell you something. This isn't the Brexit that I voted for. I voted for. I got everything, but I still got to do everything I always wanted in other countries.
I
love that.
Oh, that's great, Charlotte.
Yeah.
I'm glad you at least are happy you went on the trip. I know, having gone to a few conventions myself, that it is a lot of work, but it feels like it's a lot more worth it when you enjoy the game that you're going to cover. Like I had more fun going to TennoCon than I did to E3 because I really like Warframe. So it does help make the work a little bit more worth it in those cases, even if no one reads the story.
Fuck off.
Let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte. Charlotte, you're recapping a speedrunning event?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wasn't there myself. I watched it from home every night after work and did a bit of Twitch modding, but to be honest, it's been a hard week, so I'm not sure exactly how much I contributed to modding, to be totally honest. But yeah, it was a really great event, European Speedrunner Assembly, which takes place twice a year in Malmö, which is in Sweden, sort of on the border, like it's on the border of Sweden, where it also sort of connects via a bridge to Denmark. And yeah, the thing is, this was the first one they've done in winter, which feels almost as big as the summer one, which is really something because it doesn't pull the same numbers and the same amount of donations as a GDQ, but it's really quite impressive the amount of money they managed to raise regardless. This time they raised $60,000 for Save the Children.
Nice.
And I think the record for the previous winter event was 30,000. So they've doubled. And the whole idea is they've moved the event to Malmö. The winter one, it used to be in the center of Sweden, but the idea is that they want to make both as big as each other. And I think with this event they've pretty much almost achieved it. But talking about the games, I missed a lot of it, what with having to work, but there's really some big highlights that I did manage to catch. I think the biggest, most impressive run that I saw wasn't even like a competitive speed run. It was a 22-hour run of Final Fantasy IX, which was done with $20 percent, which means that it's like not an any percent run. He decided to do different optional bosses as they went along, but the audience could ask for anything to be done to the stream for $20 donation. So this time, Matako, the guy who was running it, got sent to the back of the room to play the game. The lights got turned off. There was a dancing skeleton on the screen for like an hour and snow effects. And I donated to have them speak in plummy British accents for about an hour. So it's just really, really fun. Those and in summer there was two $20 percent runs, and they're always a good laugh. Thinking about other runs that were really impressive, there was one that stood out, which was a wrestling game that was on the first day. And it was just so funny because it was like a group of Americans who came over to Sweden to do their runs, and they were all helping each other out. And there was this guy who wore like a US flag suit and did like proper wrestling commentary during this run. It's kind of a shame that the run was only like 10 minutes though, because he only got to do it for 10 minutes, but it was really, really funny. Yeah, and also it was just really nice to see some really old games, like Master System games. We didn't have a Spectrum game on this time, but we've had Spectrum games on before. So there's been a couple of like the Mickey games for Master System and Genesis were on the final day, and those are always a lot of fun to watch.
Nice.
Yep. Also really enjoyed watching the run of Siren Blood Curse. It was a really interesting run because the guy who ran it, I watch a lot of his streams, and he always seems to pick horror games that are just generally really hard. Like no matter how well you know the run, there's always stuff that's going to screw you over no matter what. And this game, just like Siren Blood Curse as a speedrun, is just really hard because it looks as though it's just everything's completely random and things can just grab you unexpectedly and you can't plan for it and then your run is screwed. So yeah, that was a fun one to watch because he got a little bit screwed over at some points. Yeah, I think that the emphasis this time though is on, and I think that's something that people who don't watch speedruns all that much, like speedrun events, maybe overlook a little bit, is that it's never about, at the event, people try to break their records, but that's kind of sort of a nice thing to happen. It's not really a marker of whether it's a good run or not. It's mostly about having an entertaining run. And I think that this time they knocked it out of the park, because right from day one with the wrestling commentary and other entertaining commentary, it was all about putting on a show, and they really put on a show this time. So I was really sad to be watching it from home and not participating, because I do go to every single summer. But yeah, I'm looking forward to summer now a lot, and $60,000 is an amazing amount to raise for charity, so really proud of them. Yep.
So you're definitely going to be getting out to the next one, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got quite a lot of live stuff going on at the moment, so there is a small possibility that my plans will get thwarted. But if I'm not prevented from going by some sort of live event, then I'm definitely going.
That sounds awesome, and I like that they're really embracing the fact that it's live streamed and it should be entertaining to the people who are watching it. And that someone's door just opened.
Did a ghost just open
All
the
right,
door?
sorry, that was me. Sorry.
Oh God, Podtoid's haunted.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. But yeah, no, I love the idea that they're getting into kind of a more broadcast entertainment with these events, because there are a lot of speedrunning events, and with so many of them, you definitely need to give people a reason to watch and reason to donate. And I think that $20 anything run where dancing skeleton on the screen, that sounds amazing. I want to watch that. I want to donate to something like that. Have them $20, see what I can do with, have them play with the controller upside down or something. All right, let's go ahead and move on to me. For whatever reason, this week I decided to go all in with DC Comics. It started with me watching my Blu-ray of Batman the Animated Series, and if you haven't watched it recently, it holds up immensely. It probably holds up better than any other cartoon from the early 90s. 100% watchable today. And then while in the midst of that, I decided to download DC Universe Online for Switch, which was something I've been curious about for a while. And, going off of what our old writer Peter Glagowski wrote about it when he previewed the game last year, it does run very well on Switch. I'm only about maybe an hour, 2 hours into it, and it's basically just a standard MMO. But I really like just having this chance to live out those superhero dreams that I had as a kid, or in this case, I'm playing as a supervillain, because why the hell not? But then after that, after I played that for a few hours, I decided to finally get into the Batman Arkham series. I've owned the PS4 copies for, I don't know, since they were available for $20, and I just haven't played them. I never played these games on the PS3 or the Xbox 360, so I was really excited to finally get into it. And I'm at the point in Arkham Asylum where you fight Poison Ivy, and I think I'm ready to declare this one of my favorite games ever. It is so fucking good.
Well, I'm with you there, because when people talk about their favorite games ever, it can be really difficult, because I've always said, Final Fight is my favorite game ever.
Yeah.
But I know that Final Fight isn't the best game ever made. I know it's not the best game I've ever played, and blah, blah, blah. And the only thing that kind of challenges that in terms of as a complete game, a complete experience, is Arkham Asylum. I think that game's flawless. I honestly do. And when I said that in staff chat and people started pointing out things that were wrong about it, it's not my fault that they're all wrong. But I'm pretty, when you look back at when it came out and what the tech that it had at the time, and the Batman games, especially the Batman games that came prior to it, because infamously Batman games are terrible, apart from maybe Batman the movie on the Spectrum and Amiga and that lot. Arkham Asylum is a masterpiece of storytelling, level design, character design, scripting. Mm-hmm. It has some problems, and some of it has been dated by what's come since. But I think that game is it's a masterpiece, and still is.
It absolutely is, and I want to tell you I don't like everything about it. I don't like. I brought this up in the chat. I don't like how you have to continuously click X to pull down walls or open up air vent shafts. And I also don't like the design of Poison Ivy, who was my favorite Batman villain. Not really digging it. But the thing that I believe this Batman game does, it certainly does better than any other superhero game I've played, and does better than most other games I've played, is that when you upgrade Batman, it substantially changes your options for going through that game. Because, when you get into these rooms full of guards that are armed, and one of the later rooms, all of the gargoyle posts have bombs on them, so you really can't use that. The idea is that you take them out one by one, and then as you upgrade Batman, that becomes your options for that become so much more varied that you can go through 2 different rooms of 6 guards and take them out in completely different manners than the one before. It is. I love a game that can allow me to be inventive and creative with how I go through it. I cannot remember the last time I have felt this much freedom in how I proceed through a game as I have with Arkham Asylum. This is a linear game. You're going from point A to point B to point C and so forth to the end of the game, and yet it's still so freeing because I have all of these legitimately different options on how I choose to proceed through it.
Right. And also, like, for the first time in a long time, you're talking about kind of the stealth in it and the things you upgrade. Probably for the first time ever, it's one of the only games ever where you actually feel like you are Batman. And by Batman, I mean Batman. I don't mean a superhero or a comic book hero or a cool dude. It's specifically Batman in terms of his fighting style, his gadgets, the way he thinks, the way he talks, his like modus operandi of how he goes through the mission. It is distinctly Batman. And after decades of terrible fucking Batman games, Rocksteady knocked it out the fucking park with Arkham Asylum.
And it's especially good watching the animated series. And then, because you see that, and there's a goon with a gun, and he's walking past a box, and then Batman just emerges from the shadow and pulls him back. You can do that in this game. You can string people up from the gargoyles just as he does in the show. In this game, you're right. It is so uniquely specific Batman that I'm surprised it took this long. Although, you needed the technology to do what they do in it, but it's fucking amazing. I'm really pissed I didn't play it before this because I have 2 other Arkham games to catch up on, not playing Origins. But yeah, no, I'm just absolutely blown away by this game. And I know this is probably old news to everyone because it's 10 years old at this point, but god damn, this is a great game. And I really can't wait to see what Rocksteady is going to do with whatever it is they're making next.
I'm really excited that you're going to get to play through this trilogy. I'm not as down on Night as a lot of people are. I understand people's problems with Night, and for the most part, I agree. But I still think it's like an absolutely beautiful game with a really good kind of script and some amazing character models. And I love the combat. There were times when City came out that I just put hours and hours into just the fighting challenges, getting that kind of fighting system down to an absolute T. Aside from the story, just those score attack modes that are in there. And I just want to kind of just quickly point something out because we don't get to talk about Arkham a lot on this show, but there's going to be people listening to this who are like, but you're pouring over Asylum while City's better. That's what people are going to be saying who are listening to the show. And I hear you on that. But to me, it works like this. And this is the analogy I've always used. Arkham City is like Terminator 2. Okay. Terminator 2 is a more expensive, bigger, more fantastical, more ambitious sequel to the original Terminator. It takes a lot of that first film and it blows up the lore and it blows up the characters and it blows up the way people are and it adds more bombast and more action. But although it has all that, I think Terminator 2 loses focus by being too big. I still think Terminator 2 is an amazing film, like a 5-star movie, but I feel it loses the kind of almost the gothic terror of that first film and the darkness of that first film and the tightness of the plot of just this happens on this one night between this human and this killing machine. And I apply that analogy to the Arkham series. Yes, City's a better looking, bigger, more feature-packed game. I completely agree with you. But there is definitely a loss of focus and claustrophobia that I think makes Asylum a better game overall, even if it's not mechanically better. I just needed to get that out because it's something I always have to fucking put out to people when they say, but City's better than Asylum. But that's my view on it.
I really actually enjoy the claustrophobia of Asylum, of going through those narrow hallways, of going through those vents. It's very mood setting, and in the Slack chat, I compared it to my first time going through BioShock, and it has that same kind of dark feel to it that is just so goddamn memorable. And I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this same formula with an open world structure as I believe Arkham Knight and maybe Arkham City has, but this has just been an amazing experience for me, and so I really can't wait to see it through to the end. This Poison Ivy boss battle killed me about 5 times last night before I went to bed, and I was going to get angry, but then I remembered this is just a game, but then I thought, oh, that's such a weak mindset. But yeah, no, I just can't. I'm I'm hooked. I'm absolutely hooked. And I really need to stop waiting so long to play some of these games that people refer to as the best as, because they really are. So, yeah.
Unless you're Dan saying that his favorite game is Altered Beast.
Yeah, then
just wrong.
Don't play it. Yeah.
I think someone on the site, I think a reader on the site the other day said they just played Altered Beast again, and they were like, and it's still as fun as I remember. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you feel that way, but you are wrong.
Well, I would just like to point out that if it could be just as fun as you remember, and you can consider it not fun.
Let me chime in real quick on the Arkham talk, because I played it when it came out, and I like many of us was blown away by what it was able to accomplish. And hearing y'all talk about it, because it's been a minute since I thought about those games. In my experience at least, you do lose something when you go bigger with that. To go to the city, you gain some things in some ways. But that intimacy, the kind of comparison to BioShock and all, that's my favorite. Like, that's when Batman is at his best to me. That's when I like the character the most. It's when he's most interesting. It's never been about the gadgets, the toys, anything like that. It's about like the character interacting on a very personal level. I think that's why he can like hang in the Justice League and be a viable member. While we make fun of like Black Widow and Hawkeye for being on the Avengers. So it's interesting to hear you talk about it. There is you say Poison Ivy's your favorite villain, and there's one. It's not really a moment, just kind of an Easter egg thing in City. I'm gonna have to, after you play it, let me know. I'm gonna ask you about it. That reminded me of that, and I had to Google because I forgot what she looked like in Arkham Asylum. Is she wearing like a red cardigan just buttoned up just to cover her tits and like a leaf underwear?
Yeah, she has leaf underwear, and then it's not a cardigan; it's a Arkham Asylum like inmate shirt.
You see, okay,
but then she also has like a leaf bra underneath that.
Sure,
of course.
I don't like. I know that when the character designers for these games, they have to get approval from, I guess, DC or Warner Brothers, whoever owns them, and they have to have certain visual elements they have to include to make the character recognizable, but kind of make their own. But like, guys, we don't need to do that. She looks like she's about to like fuck her partner. You know, I mean, like that's not an outfit you wear to like, I'm fighting. It's you. No, not as okay.
She looks like she looks like a character from like Magic the Gathering, whose card is Wood Nymph or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Good call on that one. Yeah. I can just, the flavor text on that must be delightful.
I have to just quickly point out that one of my favorite memories of Arkham Asylum, this is genuine, is like, so there's that great stuff in there where the Scarecrow fucks with you, right?
Yes.
Where the Scarecrow just like totally fucks with you. And at one bit, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's been 10 fucking years.
It's 10 years.
At one point, like, the game fritzes out, doesn't it? And the game basically makes out that it's crashed. When that first happened, it was in the middle of the big red ring Xbox 360 scare. And my 360 never collapsed on me. Like, I had one 360 for my entire lifespan. I don't know how it worked out that way, but it never broke. But when it first did that fritz out bit, because the sound goes all garbled and then the game starts lagging, I freaked the fuck out and I hit the power switch on my 360 because I thought it was red ringing. Because all I'd heard about was like all 360s die eventually. And I was like, not in the middle of this game, no. So I hit the power switch and then had to like reboot it. And then I got to the same bit again and I was like, it's breaking again.
Yeah, it reminds me of Eternal Darkness and trying to turn up the volume.
I will say my favorite part of that particular moment in it is when and again, I guess spoilers, but again, 10-year-old game, is when the Joker shoots you in the head and it goes to the game over screen and it says use the middle stick to avoid getting shot. Like, what the hell?
What's really hilarious is it gives you that gameplay tip that's like, that fake gameplay tip that's like, move the middle stick so Joker doesn't shoot you in the head. But what's really hilarious is if you play Modern Warfare like last year, that's an actual fucking mechanic in that game. Like, someone's waterboarding you and it's like, move the middle stick to dodge the water. Because satire is just real life now.
They're not very good at waterboarding you if you can dodge it.
Oh shit! Let's go ahead and wrap up with Occams. Occams, you have a lot of stuff to talk about. It looks like.
I have a veritable cornucopia of games and movies to discuss. All right, starting off, I got the Division 2 because it was like $3, and I like the Christmas lights that are randomly placed throughout the levels. I'm wearing a Santa hat and sunglasses. I have no clue why I'm shooting these people. That's the Division 2. I played Indivisible, and it's the prettiest game I've ever been bored by, which is a shame to say, but yeah, I don't like the platforming bits at all, and I don't the combat's okay, but I gotta I want to watch these very pretty characters in this world, and instead I'm looking at like button pressing cues, and those are the two games I played. All right, here's some movies. I watched Commando again. There's a lot more steel drum in the soundtrack than I remember.
Yeah, sure.
Like I feel like that one steel drum guy probably was able to pay off his house in this movie. also, it's like him and the saxophone guy. You know, they should start a band now. It's also a perfect action movie. I love it. And I love it. It's if I had to give Aliens like here's our perfect action movie, I'd hand Commando. It's like that and whatever on that golden disc that's floating around on Voyager right now. It's yeah, and I love the movie sets up that Arnold Schwarzenegger has superhuman strength in multiple places in the movie. Like the opening scene when you show him, he's carrying a tree. It's just a goddamn tree that he cut down. It's great. If anyone listening hasn't seen Commando, go goddamn watch it. It is so good. So wonderful. Also, like there's the not subsequent, but like requisite nudity. But if you pause the screen when the nudity happens, because it's like a door gets kicked in and this couple's fucking, the guy is on all fours and the woman is behind him, so he's getting pegged. So that's pretty progressive for an 80s action movie.
Yeah.
All right. I also watched Dick Tracy. Do y'all remember Dick Tracy?
Yeah, sure.
The movie.
I've seen that once.
I saw it in the cinema. Yeah.
I saw it the night it came out. I hadn't seen it since.
And afterwards, did you go buy a giant zoot suit?
You mean I put the one I already owned on?
Okay.
And walked around town swinging my watch chain. All right. So Dick Tracy, I wrote this. A technical wonderland where the beauty of the world is matched only by the hideousness of its inhabitants. It's as if Todd Browning's Freaks took up Al Capone's mantle. This is a kid's movie. It's marketed as a kid's movie, the toys and shit. So I have a couple more notes. You see Madonna's tits in this movie. It's a kid's movie. Dude, you absolutely do. She's wearing like a see-through negligee, and it's just right there and living. This PG, by the way. Yeah. This is arguably Al Pacino's greatest role. At the very least, it's where he perfected the scream at everything acting technique. I also noticed every scene he interacts with Madonna, he hits her. I don't think that was in the script. This is a kid's movie. So that's Dick Tracy. Stephen Sondheim wrote some of the songs for that movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a weird. And for years, perhaps a testament to how dark the movie is, I thought Tim Burton directed it. No, that was a Warren Beatty picture. It also explains why there's some.
Beatty was like, for years trying to get that movie off the ground because he was so desperate to make a movie where he was Dick Tracy. It was literally like on his bucket list. I don't give a shit whatever else I do in my career. I am making a Dick Tracy movie and I am playing Dick Tracy. He literally was like that about it.
He was I want to do this before I'm too old to do it, even though
52.
He probably was too old to do it.
52. I looked it up. He was 52. He was either dating Madonna during or after the movie, and watching them kiss is uncomfortable. Because Madonna was in her early 30s, but it just was uncomfortable to watch. And also explain why there's so many like very famous people in that movie. Mandy Patinkin was the fucking piano player, and he sings for like 2 seconds, and he sang Madonna's song a hell of a lot better than she did. But that's another podcast, I suppose. All right. Watch Dick Tracy. It's nothing else. Like the setting, the scenery, the setting, all that, the design. It won an Oscar and it deserved it. It's really beautiful. It's a weird movie, man. All right, and I have some Occam thoughts. Contemporary Christian music is kept profitable solely by people who say bullcrap.
Okay.
Yeah. Starting a sentence with "methinks" is a great way to be ignored.
True. I'll argue that.
John Waters has a great quote about "Don't sleep with someone who doesn't read." I'd say that also applies to someone who calls people normies.
Agreed.
There's a product called Poopourri. I don't know if y'all have heard of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's an aerosol spray that you can use you can use to mask the scent of your feces. The motto is "Breathe in the happy," and I just wanted to share my pain with you.
I'm gonna be honest. I should probably buy some of that.
I've been watching Twitch channels lately, and this is the one I found. This guy, he just rants about politics in the corner while lingerie models dance in the background. And I watched this channel for like an hour and a half last night just to see if he ever would like comment on what. No, it's just like different. And one was like a lingerie model walkway thing. One was a couple of K-pop girl groups dancing, but they're just wearing like, hot pants, hot shorts, and like bralettes. And he just talks about the state of politics and how immigration is bad. And I feel like this is a really clever commentary on something. I just don't know what.
No, I don't think it's clever at all. I think you're putting way more thought into it than they do.
Probably so.
Yeah.
You think so?
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games, which means it is time for the news.
This is the news.
It's been sort of an eventful week in the industry, but not going to talk about a lot today. We're just going to focus real quick on the Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Direct that happened this week. The game is out in less than a month, and Nintendo finally showed off a lot of what you'll be able to do with their next entry in the franchise. Some of the stuff is new to the series, including being able to shape rivers in the land of your island, put your own designs on the furniture, which is going to be amazing. And I know amazing and Animal Crossing don't generally go together, but it does for me. And then, of course, the biggest change of all is being able to choose where on the island your residents live. So you no longer set up a nice, beautiful grove of fruit trees only to have it be destroyed by someone moving in. So I was stoked when that was first showed off, and I'm glad they showed it off so early, because then it just made me happy for the rest. At least until it got to the whole cloud saving and retrieving your island, because this is not what I wanted to be talking about a month ahead of the Animal Crossing launch, but it's all anyone is talking about. It doesn't seem Nintendo is quite sure what's going on with cloud saving on your island or with your island for Animal Crossing New Horizons. Originally, it said that they had no plans to offer cloud save data. Then during the Direct, it was revealed that down the line, you'll be able to retrieve your island data should something happen to your Switch. However, you'd only be able to do it one time. Now, that one-time only restriction is nowhere to be seen in the Direct, and it only reads now, more details on save data function or recovery function will be revealed or shared at a later date. So it's kind of all up in the air on what's going to happen. And it's the same with in-game purchases. Originally, the ESRB rating for the game said that it would have in-game purchases. Then that was removed. And then it was put back on just a few days ago. So it kind of seems like so much stuff is in the air right now that it's disappointing to someone like me who has been a fan since the beginning that, I don't want microtransactions or in-game purchases in anywhere near Animal Crossing, because I feel that they kind of spoiled. They spoil the mood of the game and kind of the innocence of it, which is one of the reasons I think it is so popular. But also, I just don't want to pay more money because I'm cheap. But this whole cloud save data just goes to show that despite making hand over fist with the Switch and selling 10 million copies of so many of their first-party games, Nintendo still doesn't seem to get online play or online functions, I should say, because with a Nintendo Switch Online, with this cloud save data, it's just it feels like it's so haphazardly put together compared to what we get with PlayStation and Xbox.
Why do you think they suck at that so much? Like they do so much right. Why is that the one area the chink in their armor, so to speak?
I have an idea for this. I think it's somewhat recently to do with the fact that they kept online a lot more locked down than on PlayStation and Xbox because of their audience. So I've noticed that so you can swap messages on the Wii U, I noticed, and I presume so on the Switch as well, but it's a lot less than you can do on PlayStation. And I think that means that they've just not had to support it as much in general, and they've just not very good at it because they've not practiced with it, I guess.
It definitely seems like all of their decisions that when it has to do with online come from this idea that gave the same idea that gave us friend codes back on the Wii. That all we can do is protect kids. That's our main concern with online. So that's what we're going to do. And it just kind of gets in the way of the functions that should be there and should be second nature to a company by now, because it's second nature to their competition, even if they don't consider their competition, yada, yada, yada. I just continuously find it bizarre that here's a company that is loved around the world with properties that are, more respected than most other gaming properties out there, that still finds new and interesting ways to shit the bed. Like, I don't really care about the whole save data with my island, because that's never been a problem for me with any Animal Crossing. I've never had a system break. I've never lost save data that I didn't intentionally delete. So it's never been an issue with me. And it probably won't be for most people, but it just kind of seems like it shouldn't be an issue at all, because it should be, if you lose your data, you can recover it from cloud saves, which you get when you pay for Nintendo Switch Online. But it's still so backwards for them, and it's endlessly frustrating because, it takes what should be a joyous occasion and makes it an annoyance.
It's so surreal to me. I know it's. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good metaphor, analogy, or something. I can't. It's just for a company that, like, I think out of every gaming company ever been, I think Nintendo has gotten it right the most, and they invented the game, and for them to just really be so far. I mean, it feels like a lot of the time, like when I taught my dad how to send an email, and he's really proud when he can attach a picture, And that's kind of what Nintendo feels like sometimes when it comes to their online, what they're doing. And you just scratch your head, because, like, they're not just a bunch of old people there. They read the same reports and see the same industry stuff that we do, and more, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, it's just weird to me that they're so bad at it.
This is Podtoid.
All right, that is it for the news, which means it is now time for another installment of Crap Criminals. You've been hit by a crap criminal. And we got some good ones for you today. We're going to start out where else than the state of Florida, where two men were pulled over driving over the speed limit and ended up going to jail suspected of drug trafficking. Now, the reason that they're ending up on this little installment of Crap Criminals will be made in just a second. According to the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office, a search of their car during the traffic stop turned up meth, cocaine, MDMA, fentanyl, and GHB. Now, the guys did a very good job of hiding all of these drugs to make sure that nobody would find it, because they stashed them in a bag with the words "bag full of drugs" written in big letters all over the side of it. Who'd have thought a bag labeled "bag full of drugs" would be full of drugs?
I'm really hoping they paid for those drugs with a big sack with a dollar sign on the side.
I'm seeing Roddy Piper take off those sunglasses to see the real.
Speaking of unfortunate labels, let's go ahead and head to Indiana, where a man named Donald Murray led police on a short pursuit that was actually featured on an episode of Live PD. And if you don't know what Live PD is, it's a show we have in America that's basically cops, but streamed directly live from police vehicles with a delay, just in case there's a bunch of swearing or shootings. So Mr. Murray, when he was on his episode, I guess, featured as a featured cast member on this episode of Live PD, he was actually able to get away free and clear, but he was arrested a short time later, and cops are able to find him because on his forehead is a tattoo that reads "Crime Pays" in big letters, and he has a big forehead.
It's good to know that meth doesn't shrink somebody's forehead.
So he was caught after that appearance on the episode, and well, wouldn't you know it? After he was let out of jail, he led police on another high-speed chase with a stolen vehicle and allegedly a bag full of meth. No word if it was in a bag labeled "bag full of drugs," but once again, they were able to catch him because I can't imagine there are many people with a tattoo that says "Crime Pays" on their forehead.
Just once you start getting face tattoos, it's all downhill.
I'm just wondering if he's committing all these crimes to raise money for like tattoo removal, because that seems like what he should be going for. All right. For our next story, we're going to go to Tennessee, where a man named Spencer Boston was arrested for smoking marijuana while in court facing charges of possession of marijuana. According to CNN, Boston decided to use his court appearance to explain why he thought marijuana should be legal, which, not a bad idea. But what is a bad idea, or perhaps the most baller idea imaginable, is trying to make your point in court by pulling out a joint and lighting it up in front of the judge. He was able to take a few tokes before being escorted out of the courtroom where, surprise, surprise, he was charged once again with possession of marijuana.
All right. So that the guy with the big forehead, the way you fix that is you put a question mark after the "crime pays" and then do like that the Lionel Hutz or whatever, the lawyer guy from
the
Simpsons. Yeah, and add like "crime pays." No, it does not, because it's a big forehead. No, it does not. And then exclamation point. That's how you fix that.
All right, finally, we're going to go back to Florida, because why not? Where two men were caught Hansel and Gretel style. According to clickorlando.com, police responded to a robbery at a CVS drugstore where employees were tied up with zip ties as two men and an accomplice ransacked the pharmacy, making off with 10,000 opioid pills with a street value of around $320,000. Now, the men did not wear any masks during this robbery, so they were going to get caught eventually. But it seems that they decided to give the law enforcement a break, because as they drove away, the men allegedly emptied bottles of the opioids into a bag and just tossed the empty bottles out the window. All cops had to do was follow the empty pill bottles like breadcrumbs to a house where they found two of the three suspects hiding. They were arrested, and their accomplice was caught a short time later. They are facing a variety of charges. My God, you have to be dumb to do that.
All right. I have an idea for like a crime anthology series.
Okay.
Where it's always the same bag.
Hey, at least they're recycling.
There you go.
Just this bag full of drugs. It's like the Sisterhood of Traveling Pants with this bag of drugs.
Yeah, but it's like they fill the bag, like it's this bag of drugs, and they like find like the bag like just floats down the street, and some guy wearing like fingerless gloves and a unibrow picks it up, and he's like, "Huh," and maybe like
drugs now.
Is the bag cursed? Is it alive? Was the bag put there by the devil to tempt people? You don't know. I'm optioning this 3 seasons in HBO. Westworld, eat my ass.
Anyway, that was Crap Criminals.
You've been hit by crap.
We are just about out of time, but before we go, Occams, we have a community shout out this week.
We do. It's a twofer, actually. We've got, I think we shouted him out before, but I was reading some of his stuff, and it just makes me happy. His user, Inquisitive Ravenclaw, He's just a nice dude. He posts his art, talks about games. He just makes me really happy, and I love seeing his stuff and just to read about his life and the stuff he shares with us. Just a positive presence on Destructoid, and he's a good dude. So community shout out to him, and a late entry in the community shout out actually to you, CJ. Hearing you talk about Arkham Asylum, you sounded happy and excited and joyful, and that's, man, that is what fucking video games are about, is just having good experiences, games that make you really love the medium. So shout out to you for enjoying such a great game.
Oh, thank you. I do deserve that.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
great. All right. On behalf of Occams, Chris, and Charlotte, thank you for listening to Podtoid, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or to the Destructoid YouTube channel.